In this heartwarming and powerful episode, my guest reflects on the lessons she inherited from her grandmother's kitchen and how they continue to shape her purpose in public health. From folding butter into biscuit dough to centering culture and community in maternal health work, she shares how legacy is both recipe and roadmap. With deep faith, fierce love, and a calling to uplift Black women and birthing people, she invites us to consider what we carry forward and what we're called to transform. You are listening to the Courageous Public Health Podcast, episode 23. To all the courageous women leading in public health, this podcast is your space to turn up the volume on your courage. This space centers your voice. This space celebrates your passion. This space amplifies your courage. My role? To listen, to amplify, and to stand with you in the fight for equity. My name is Dr. Christy McClamrock. I am an epidemiologist, consultant, the founder and CEO of Courageous Public Health, and the host of the Courageous Public Health Podcast. Each week, I have real, unfiltered conversations with women doing the work of public health about the challenges you face, the power you hold, and your vision for the future. We talk about the authenticity, vulnerability, and courage that you bring, not just to public health, but to every part of your lives. Because courage is about action, even in fear. It's about taking up space, leading unapologetically, refusing to be erased, and knowing you never have to do it alone. If you're ready to turn up the volume on your courage, if you're ready to take up space, if you're ready to smash the racist, patriarchal, cisnormative, heteronormative, ableist, capitalistic systems, then let's dive into this brand new episode. Thank you for joining me on this episode. I'd like to start by introducing myself if you're brand new to the podcast, or reintroducing myself if you're a returning listener. My name is Dr. Christy McClamrock, and I am the CEO of the Courageous Public Health Consulting Firm, where we support public health organizations through workshop design and facilitation and speaking engagements. I am so excited to introduce you to my guest on this episode. Let me formally introduce her, and then we'll jump right into our conversation. Kimberly Pierre is a dedicated public health leader with a Master's of Public Health in Urban Public Health from Rutgers and a Bachelor of Science in Community Health Education from Montclair State University. As Deputy Director at a local municipal health department, she leads community-focused outreach and education efforts across diverse populations, including older adults, migrants, and at-risk residents. A first-generation college graduate, Kimberly brings a personal and professional commitment to health equity, with a particular passion for sexual and reproductive health, mental health, and maternal and child health. She also teaches at Montclair State University, serves as Associate Director of Health Communications at Yale's Substance and Sexual Health Lab, and sits on the board of the New Jersey Society for Public Health Education. Her work encompasses strategic planning, community outreach, public health programming, and culturally responsive engagement, always rooted in a mission to reduce disparities and elevate underserved communities. Ready to be inspired? Let's listen to my conversation with Kimberly Pierre right now. Hello, Kimberly Pierre. I am very excited to have you here.
Same here. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. I know we just said before we hit record that we want to give a shout out to the person who connected us.
Yes. So at this time, I want to give a special shout out to my the current president of NJ Sophie, Miss Tiffany Neal, for this opportunity for me to connect with you and on this great platform. So thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Tiffany. I am also a big Tiffany fan. So, yes, I love when she makes the connections. It's so good. So, I want to start by giving you a chance to introduce yourself to our listeners.
Okay, wonderful. Well, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on when you listen to this podcast. But my name is Kimberly Pierre. I am a public health practitioner. or professional. I am a adjunct professor. I'm a baking enthusiast. I love to cook. I'll put
Oh,
that
you
in.
do?
I do. Okay, I'm gonna show off. Or maybe it's not the right time. I had
Go.
just made peach cobbler and I'm just so proud of it.
Oh my gosh.
Should I
Peach
show off? I
cobbler.
think I'm going to. Should I? I'm going to
Yeah.
show you. Oh,
Show. Oh my God. Oh, that looks so good.
thank you
That's
so much.
amazing.
Okay, I'm gonna
Okay.
stop. Okay, that was the moment, but
Peach
baking
cobbler is the
enthusiast.
best. Yes. Cooking enthusiast. Do
Yes,
you do
cooking.
you do you mainly cook desserts or do you cook all kinds of
I will
things?
make a little bit of everything. I personally, I'm really interested in other cultures and just seeing like what their main dishes is, maybe putting my own twist to it. But I
Love
really
that.
do enjoy food, cooking. This idea of inviting people, making sure we're all like, sharing space, a good meal together, outside of being hospitable, it's just good to cook for your loved ones. So
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
I'll say that. But
Yeah, cooking and food is also a great connector, you know?
yes.
And um and meals and yeah, so okay. So next time I'm in New Jersey.
All I'm gonna say, give me a buzz and
Absolutely.
you're gonna be full. I
I want
guarantee you that. I guarantee it.
I definitely want to try that peach cobbler. That looks incredible.
Listen,
That's great.
and I made okay, I'm not gonna bore you with that.
No,
I
please, it's
also
not
made
boring.
biscuits. I made a healthy version of the peach cobbler,
Oh,
so
nice.
high protein. I'm also a gym enthusiast, so it's like
Nice.
a lifestyle, but I know the main question was, so who are you? Now I know
Yeah,
how to answer it, and we can take it back and add this part in.
absolutely. No, those are all great ways to describe yourself. Cooking enthusiast and peach
Yeah, I
cobbler
do enjoy it.
connoisseur. That's great. Um, okay, well, I really want to jump into the questions with you. So let's start with the first one. I always want to remind our listeners about the difference between bravery and courage. So bravery is about taking action without fear, while courage is taking action despite fear. And I really love to hear people's stories of courage. So I would love to hear some experiences from your life, your professional life, your personal life, all of the above, where you acted courageously. And I'm sure there are
Well,
many.
well, I'll start with one.
Okay.
Just given the space, my journey, just thinking about how it started for me. I would say that just entering the field of public health was my initial act of courage for myself. Personally, I started as a biology major with aspirations. I'm going to medical school and I'm going to do all these great things. And what was my biggest challenge was chemistry. So
Mm,
whether it's the organic chemistry, just chemistry in general, it was just very challenging for myself, especially in ways that I didn't expect because you study, you would think you would see the results, and it starts to become discouraging for me.
yeah.
But instead of letting the discouragement define me, I lean more into the discomfort of finding a way to choose a new path, right? My initial goal for myself is like I want to be able to be in a career or a field where I'm helping others. I'm able to maybe set the tone or change the narrative when it comes to service because a lot of times we see people in certain positions and they may have the title, right? But it lacks luster when it comes to inviting a space for people to feel connected or that they can come back to. So for myself in choosing a new path, which was public health, it was bittersweet because I didn't know anything about it, right? But since I've been introduced to public health, I would say that the what I felt like was a setback became an opportunity for growth to the point that it's just a part of my brand, a part of who I am, and I want everyone to know all things about public health, right? And
Yes.
it helped me not only grow in an academic sense because I started as a student learning and now I'm teaching the next generation of public health practitioners. So it's like
Oh,
a full circle moment.
I love
But it
that.
also helped me personally because a lot of times that you become so hard on yourself and you're saying, why couldn't I just do better? Right. But instead of just banging my head or just making myself feel less than because maybe I didn't get the results I thought I can. I saw it as an opportunity to open the door for something even greater that I didn't even expect, right? But I had
Yeah.
to open the door, not let it crack, open it.
Yeah.
And of course, professionally, because I'm clearly in the space of public health. As I mentioned earlier, I am a public health practitioner, a proud one at that. And just the idea of preventing things or prevention, it just makes sense. And I'm glad to be a part of that. And just to add on to that, I would like to say, just as a first gen, right? I'm a first generation daughter of immigrants. And I faced moments where I felt like maybe my silence might feel safer. And what I mean by that is a lot of times, I say this sometimes like silence is understood, right? But how can people understand where I'm come from, where my limitations are, what my needs are, or my desires if I just stay in this space of silence? So when I realized that I couldn't stay silent, especially when it comes to me trying to get to my best potential, or even just understanding, right? They say there's no such thing as a silly question. Silence could also be my greatest limitation. And just changing that narrative for myself, I didn't want to live with the what ifs. So I began showing up for myself more in ways that I didn't expect to, started speaking up and reminding myself daily, why not? Or why not me? I find it so easy to be comedic in certain situations or, make light of things. But that shift as well was another act of courage for myself. And even when I felt uncomfortable, um, this step actually helped me bring me closer to my purpose and the ability to help lift others because sometimes we have those days or we have those times or those moments and just show up for yourself, right? And if you need someone to maybe put that battery in your back, you're not alone, right? We have those moments, but I would share those as my courage to action.
Yeah. Oh, that's really great. And this idea of like, don't just crack the door open, like really open the door. Open the door wide.
Listen, hinge.
Yes. Yes.
You know.
Absolutely. And the struggle with the chemistry. So mine was physics. The chemistry I got, but like I had to take physics, and that was really challenging for me. And yeah, I mean, I love that you said that, you were the student trying to like figure it out, and now you are teaching the students. That's such a full circle moment.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. So I want to ask you, just because I know this about you, I want to ask you about also being a doula. So you did not go to
Yes.
medical school. You got your master's of public health. So you like
Mhm.
totally jumped into public health. But yeah, what about being a doula? Like how does that fit in for you?
So for myself, I earlier I mentioned like being a part of helping people. That's something I truly desire. I personally became a doula. First, I had the opportunity to have a fellowship under Title V, and I actually learned what a doula was. And at the time, the state of New Jersey was working on Medicaid reimbursement for doula care and just finding other initiatives to really target Black infant mortality in certain municipalities that had high numbers. But also just personally, when I just seen people that I knew that did not have the best experience with their care providers or their providers, I should say. So during the period of COVID, people not being
Mm,
able to have their loved ones in their rooms with them and just experiencing such a sacred experience on their own really prompted me and pushed me to want to be a doula. I think about my family members. I am a Haitian American Black woman, and seeing that the language barrier, how discouraging it was for them to wanted to give birth, and just not knowing how to ask certain questions or how things were translated with the language line. So these different experiences shaped me to want to be a doula and just advocate and just let someone know that there is someone there and I will be there with you. I want to just, give a shout out to all the doulas and who are doing the work
absolutely.
because I think
Yes.
that, in different cultures, they might be identified as different names, but just knowing that you have someone that's there for you through and through, no judgment. This is your moment, right? How can I support you to get to the most healthiest birth? So that's something that I really take pride about. Anytime I have extra time, try to advocate whether it's for prenatal, postpartum, or even giving live births. And I'm very grateful for the opportunity to have been trained as well.
That's just beautiful. It's funny. I in the last couple of years, I've met more and more people who are doulas, and I mean, maybe I knew doulas before, and I just didn't know that that's that they were, but yeah, and so it's really cool because I've been able to learn more and more about you know what you bring to that experience, and my daughter is 19 now, so I'm far past that process. But boy, in retrospect, like I could have used somebody like you on my team.
That
So
means a lot. And just when I just think about the stages of birth, right? Even the bereavement process too. Uh, you can think about, what are the words to say, right? Sometimes it's not about sorry or I'm sorry for your loss because stillbirths happen. Or if someone undergoes like, making a difficult choice or maybe whatever it is, just knowing that someone's there, not judging you and just letting you know, hey, everything will be okay. You are not alone, right?
yeah.
And where I got trained, what I love to hear or the statements, like they say, postpartum is forever, right? Postpartum is forever. And sometimes you might need some people to show up for you in a different way that you didn't expect, right? It might look different. So,
Okay, so just because we're on the subject, I have to pull out a book from my bookshelf.
okay.
Okay. So I just recently read this book. It's called Matrescence, and it's on pregnancy, childbirth, and motherhood. And it's by a woman named Lucy Jones. And this book is it's so powerful. And the reason that I thought of it is that, talking about postpartum is forever, like the word matrescence is like the word adolescence. Like it's this period of time. It's not just about when you're pregnant or when you're delivering. It's like this whole, and I would think that Lucy Jones, might also call the postpartum period forever, that it's like, it's this whole period of time that can be difficult for a lot of women, and it really needs to be, like, not even needs to be, it gets to be honored. Like it gets to be honored. So anyway, that's just, it's something that I've read recently and made like a really big impact on me. So,
Well, I thank you for sharing and just knowing that there are not only books but resources out there to continue the messaging, right?
yeah,
We need to understand it's more than just okay, this happened here and that's it, right?
yeah,
It's a continuous process. So I want to give a shameless shout out to Chanel because I heard it from her, and I did get trained through them. So postpartum is forever, right? Just like some of the experience we have, it's beyond this the scope of the moment that it happened. So.
absolutely. Absolutely. No, that's great. Well, I very much appreciate your examples of courage in your life. That's, I mean, yeah, this is all good stuff. So let's go to the next question. So the next question is about, it's about claiming and expressing your power, especially in spaces that may not always welcome it. And, as you said, as an immigrant Black woman, Haitian, Black woman in the United States, I suspect that you have encountered spaces where your power has not always been welcome. I'm curious about how you express and embody that power when you're doing the work of public health and in general, honestly.
I would say that just in general, just being a Black woman or just Whether, oh, wait, I'm backtracking.
Okay.
When it comes to just being a woman in leadership, right? Depending on the spaces that you're in, it isn't always easy, right? And a lot of things that are worth it do have their own challenges. But I just want to reiterate that it is powerful to know that you are in these spaces to not only open the door, but to create your lasting impact. For myself, and I've been in spaces where I felt like I've heard more no's than yeses. And honestly, I think the most damaging ones were not the no's that people told me. It was the ones I told myself. Because at times you allow your circumstance or the environment to take over what you may be ordained or destined to do, right? But over time, for myself, when I learned to replace the doubt with intention and just to just see myself or my background or my reflection not as a barrier, right, but just as a bridge to connect, right? There might be spaces I'm in, I might be the only person that looks like me, but I'm bridging connection to maybe someone else to let them know that you can take space too. There's this notion of, taking a seat at the table. When the opportunity is given, right, you do want to take a seat and you want to be able to not only advocate, but use your voice for the communities or maybe create change in systems or challenge norms that are presented in front of us. But in expressing my power to your question, I would say that I lead with not only empathy, but being informed by the environments that I've come from, my personal experiences, and just carry it out to just push me along. Sometimes, some days are harder than others, but even in those challenging moments, just bring yourself back to where I started, right? And where I am and where I'm destined to go. And I more than anything, I just want others to just know, especially young women of color across the spectrum, that no matter where you come from, you are more than capable of becoming something greater, right? But the only thing that's holding you back is you, right? I know that there's tests, there are barriers, but the ones, as I mentioned earlier, the ones that you hold yourself back from. Your power does not require any permission at all. So that's what I would say.
Well, yeah. I think the things that we tell ourselves that hold us back, we have control over those things. Like, we can change that. That is something we can change. Sometimes the external barriers are harder to change. And I'm just listening to you speak. I'm struck by the reality that it is impossible to not internalize some of these messages when they are so prevalent. I mean, as a white woman, I am really aware of how much I internalize messages of patriarchy, and that's, as much as I'm like, strong woman, like, I don't take any BS. But I still find those moments when I'm like, oh, I swallowed that whole. And I mean, I imagine that as a woman of color, it's tenfold, 100-fold, 1,000-fold, right? Like, because there are even more messages to have to push back against.
No, no, definitely. And just to your point, there's always going to be something, right?
Yeah.
But it's how we approach filtering the messaging that we expose ourselves to. It's like the notion of when someone has rumors, right? If someone comes to you and presents a rumor about someone you may know, it's
Mm-hmm.
up to you if you take it in and pass it along, right?
Right.
So filtration sometimes starts with us. Instead of me continuing to um, continue conversations with banter that maybe we probably won't agree with, but finding a way to correct, right? We can correct inappropriate behavior by educating, right? Ignorance sometimes is what people use as their excuse, but now we also know knowledge is power. So Going back to challenging, right? Just because something is challenging does not mean it's not worth the effort to push through. So that's also something to consider for whether the listeners or even as I'm speaking to myself, that is what we allow in our spaces to really deter us from what the goal is or what the purpose is that we're trying to push through. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for that. So, I want to talk about the future and I want to talk about your vision. And I'm really curious about your vision for public health, your vision for your community, your communities, and your own personal vision.
So for myself, just from how I identify, I'm a
Yeah.
first generation child of immigrants. And for me, I personally carry a deep sense of responsibility, but also hope. My vision overall for public health is one that really centers equity. I think a lot of times we hear this word being thrown, but really having equitable spaces, right? But also sustain with sustainability as well. The future for public health for me, it encompassed trust and access, not just for today, right, but for generations to come. Going back to sustainability, I personally want to see all communities thrive, right, with leading conversations, with holding decision making power, right. Going back, we should have a seat at the table, right? How will people know what is needed if we are not in these spaces, right? How will we be able to be effective or efficient in our approach if we don't even understand where the baseline is, right? And I also hope that in these conversations or when we're thinking about future planning and just communities, just shaping policies that reflect our lived realities. I think a lot of times we might find a hot topic and just jump on it and it dies out, right? The health of people is it's not a trending topic. Sometimes even ourselves we may fall short with some of the choices that we make, but we ideally all should have access to just care and to be able to be our best healthiest selves, right? But to continue this conversation, I would like to just, for me personally, when we're thinking about future, I know I mentioned for public health,
Yeah.
I would want to continue to grow and just continue creating space for others, just like how my mentors have once did for me and they continue to do for myself. I hope to be a mirror for those who are still finding their way, and a reminder to them that your path maybe it might not always be straight, right?
Yep.
And it doesn't have to be perfect, but it can be powerful. And I think that even with this platform that you have here, it just reiterates the fact that the courage we take, the steps we make, right? This is our power. There's only one of us. That is our power, right? And yeah, just with future thinking, I would add those sentiments. Um, and I guess if I had to really think about how I want my future to be or the legacy maybe I would like to leave is one where there is impact um, in different facets. Have leadership that reflects the communities that I serve, and just have courage to continue to pass down to others, right? So they know they can do it themselves.
Yeah. I mean, legacy is powerful and we need to be thinking about our legacy. Uh,
Absolutely. And for me, it's not even about like I don't really need people to know my name, right? Legacy is like what are the sustainable efforts that I was a part of that lives beyond me, right? I think a lot of times people are so stuck on titles and they're stuck on just superficial notions or maybe feel good moments, right? But for me, legacy is like when I leave this earth, right? Or what if I transition to whatever field, right? What did I contribute to, and how does this continue to help others? And that means a lot. That really means a lot to me.
yeah. So, what is in your cooking future? What's the next thing you're going to make?
As a cooking enthusiast, as I shared earlier,
Yes.
so this week I'm trying to find ways to have my favorite dishes cooked in a healthier way. you know?
Love
So I
it.
don't know how we're going to successfully do it because sometimes there's something about, using the ingredients that things come with, but there's always a healthy alternative. So,
Yeah.
like even earlier when I shared with you my beautiful peach cobbler, right? I
Yeah.
made it two ways. I made one that was high in protein, to help me with some of the goals that I have, right? Low on sugar, high in protein, and so much goodness, right? Who said you
Yes.
can't have sweets and have fun with it,
Yeah, absolutely.
So, maybe recipes coming soon. Just give me some time. Didn't think that far, but
Yeah.
but we have some things coming down the pipeline.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for being here. I want to make sure that our listeners know how to connect with you. So what is the best way? What is the best way for people to connect with you, to learn more about you, but also more about your courage?
Well, I would say you can, of course, find me on LinkedIn. Kimberly Pierre is my name on LinkedIn,
Yep.
also on Instagram and on, I believe, X or Twitter. My handle is Public Health Kim. So if you're looking to connect, I'm always open to finding other people, whether you're curious or just looking to have another colleague, just to pass ideas with or just to connect. Those would be the best ways to reach me. For those who are interested, also, I have a public health consultancy group, Wealth in Public Health. So if anyone's interested in connect, you can find me there. And I'll share the link to anyone's interested to connect in that capacity as well.
Fantastic. And we'll put all of those in the show notes, so it'll be easy for people to find you, to reach out.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. And now that Tiffany's introduced us, we will be staying in touch.
I hope so, right? This is just introduction, right?
That's right.
To many more podcast opportunities.
Let me know.
I'll be here.
Thank you.
Sometimes courage is passing down the recipe and rewriting the story. Sometimes courage is feeding your people while healing your past. Sometimes courage is choosing to leap even before the landing appears. Kimberly Pierre reminds us that joy can be sacred, that culture is a living inheritance, and that every cobbler, every classroom, every courageous leap can carry the taste of legacy. You can connect with Kimberly Pierre on LinkedIn and on the Wealth in Public Health website to learn more about her and her courage. All the links to connect with her are on our show notes page located on our website, courageouspublichealth.com, under episode 23. If you haven't listened to episode 1 of the podcast yet, make sure to go back and check it out. It's where I pull back the curtain. I share why I started Courageous Public Health, what courage really means to me, and how my personal and professional journeys are deeply intertwined. I also share why I'm committed to standing on the legacy of courage, resistance, and leadership that women, and particularly women of color, have carried for generations. Thanks so much for being here. Until our next episode, stay courageous.
Thank you for listening to the Courageous Public Health Podcast. Visit courageouspublichealth.com to find the show notes for each episode and learn how to connect with us.